So the reaction to Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime show revealed something deeper than just opinions about a performance. It exposed how divided we actually are. And I'm not just talking politically, but culturally. And honestly, to me, it was disappointing. After listening to Megyn Kelly and her guests she had on I think it was Crane and Co. I saw a clip. I saw Brandon Tatum in his clips and other conservative voices after the Super Bowl, specifically about Kendrick Lamar's halftime performance. I realized how little we actually understand each other's worlds. And let me be clear, I am a black conservative. I support Donald Trump. I've voted for him both times. I've supported him since 2016. And I believe in making America great again. And I stand by conservative values. But I also understand the other side and their frustrations and their distrust and their fears. And I'm also black. I understand our culture, especially hip hop culture. I grew up on it. I listened to East Coast hip hop my entire life and West Coast hip hop. I'm from the West Coast. I'm from Seattle. But, during those times, the East Coast, it was the East Coast and it was East versus West. But, Biggie, Jay-Z, Nas, obviously Pac, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, all of Death Row, all of that stuff going into the late 90s, early 2000s, where it was, Jay-Z was the king, right? But Atlanta was coming up. You had T.I., you had Jeezy, Wayne was huge and became the guy. And then obviously in 03, 50 Cent and G Unit. And, just I am a hip hop fan, and it was the culture. It was my culture, right? And so what I saw after this performance, though, because I followed Kendrick, I followed K. Dot since Section 80, and watched his whole entire rise up to fame, and I always understood Kendrick Lamar. I have a feeling that if I was actually to talk to Kendrick Lamar for any extended amount of time, me and him would probably have a really, really deep conversation, and the people around probably would have no idea what we're talking about. And I think that that's so reflective in his music. And there's a lot of things that you can't talk to everybody about, but you can talk about certain things that certain individuals who are on that wavelength understand. And I think I understand him in that way. That's why the performance to me was, hands down, one of the best performances of a hip hop artist, of any artist really, that I've ever seen. But what did I see after the performance? I saw what I think is a complete unwillingness to understand. So let's talk about it. I love my fellow conservatives, but let's be real. Sometimes we're in a social bubble, just as much as the left is in a political one. When Megyn Kelly said people at the stadium were on their phones during Kendrick Lamar's performance and they weren't really listening or tuning in, to me, that wasn't really surprising. If you're not into hip hop and you can't follow along with the words and you don't know the artist, and if you don't follow Kendrick Lamar, of course you won't be engaged. That's for any artist, right? That's for anyone. So that anecdotal observation doesn't take away from the mountains and mountains of things I'm going to be talking about today. But I just want to say that's fine. You don't have to like him. You don't have to listen to him, and you don't really have to care about the performance. But what stood out to me was the absolute dismissal of what this performance meant. I heard conservative commentators saying stuff like, just let Chris Stapleton do the halftime show every year, which was, it's like, really? So you just dismiss and erase hip hop from the biggest cultural stage in America because you don't understand it. That's not just ignorance, that's just complete rejection. And as someone who grew up on hip hop, I understand exactly what Kendrick was doing. But for those who didn't, to them, it was just like, what is this? Kendrick Lamar is an artist. His art is hip hop, rap. And like any great artist, whether it's Van Gogh, Hemingway, or Beethoven, his work isn't for everyone. But here's what Kendrick Lamar's performance did and didn't do. He didn't pander to middle America. The conversation he had on that stage wasn't for middle America or for anyone who didn't know or understand hip hop at all. For anyone who knows hip hop or rap or black culture, they understood, they got it, because they've been following the whole entire beef between him and Kendrick since May of last year. He didn't play his greatest hits. Remember, Kendrick Lamar did the halftime show with Dre and Snoop, and he performed with them. And he performed one of his biggest hits that he didn't do this time. But he didn't do a greatest hits montage of his whole catalog like all the other artists have done. He did something unprecedented, which was his first song was an unreleased track that no one's heard. No one knew those words. No one knew those lines. He committed to being in the present moment, in the present era, in the present time of what he has already been doing for the past 8 months. And he didn't make it easy for the casual fans to follow along on purpose, because it wasn't about that. It was about him capitalizing and putting a punctuation mark on a run, on a battle, on a campaign that he started in, I believe, it was spring of last year. Instead, he brought a pure, unfiltered, unvarnished hip-hop culture to the biggest stage in the world on his own terms. He performed current songs, not old hits. And that's how dedicated he was at making this a moment rather than a nostalgia trip. It is a complete and utter repudiation of previous performance, and it stands alone. It's never been done before. And what was the core message of the performance? Control. He even released the track Control way back in the day. Everyone knows that track, right? This performance was about control. Kendrick was having a dialogue with Black America. The presence of Samuel L. Jackson as Black Uncle Sam wasn't accidental. There's plenty of videos you can go watch online right now with a bunch of YouTubers breaking down all the Easter eggs and the layers of the performance, which I think the majority of them are probably accurate, but there's a bunch of things that you can look at. But it was nothing in the Kendrick Lamar video, performance, or verse is accidental. Everything is intentional. So Samuel L. Jackson as Black Uncle Sam wasn't accidental. This was about the pressure on Black artists to code switch or to fit a mold that makes everyone else comfortable. Right? Don't be too ghetto. Don't be too black. Don't be too hip hop. Right? You have to go back and listen to the conversation between Black Uncle Sam, Samuel L. Jackson, and Kendrick Lamar as he does the songs. Because Kendrick is talking to you the entire time. This was, and the flag. That wasn't just any flag, right? It was a flag with all Black people, Black America. He was speaking directly to us. This wasn't anti-Trump. This wasn't anti-America. This was a reflection of one culture's experience within America. And as conservatives, we really have to try to understand this. The conservative movement is a political one. It's not a cultural one. You can have someone in MAGA be a racist, an anti-Jew, an anti-black person, and you can have someone who is black and believe in the same political identity, but have two very different cultural beliefs. And to me, that's what this halftime show revealed and made me realize, man, just how really we talk past each other so much. This is where conservatives miss the mark. Instead of asking, what is the performance saying? They dismissed it as bad entertainment simply because it didn't cater to them. Imagine if Kendrick had performed All Right again, because he performed it with Dre and Snoop and Mary J. Blige, right? And 50 Cent. That song is already one of the most recognizable hip hop anthems of our time, of all time. But he didn't. He gave us something different. He gave us Now. And the fact that people didn't even want to understand shows me that the conservative movement has a cultural blind spot. We fight against political bubbles, but we can't even acknowledge the social bubbles that we're trapped in. If we truly want unity in this country, we have to start by listening. We have to recognize that just because we don't like something doesn't mean it's not important. And this is why I wrote my book, Forgiving America, a treatise of redemption. If we want to heal as a nation, we must bridge this cultural divide. We can't just ignore it and hope it goes away. We don't need a black national anthem. We don't need separate identities. We need one flag, one anthem, one people, Americans. But to get there, we have to be willing to understand each other first. I believe that unity is possible, but only through honest conversations, not dismissals. Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime performance is the most watched of all time. It eclipsed Michael Jackson. His sales of his album are through the roof. He's one of the most Googled people right now. And if you're interested on understanding what is going on that stage, just go to YouTube. Type in Kendrick and Drake beef. And you'll understand why that one song, Not Like Us, won 5 Grammys, which has never been done by a rap song in the history of the Grammys. Why it's literally the biggest song for almost 9 months now in the world. Not America, in the world. And what that performance on that stage actually represented, not just for Black Americans, but for hip hop and the culture. And also what it says about our country and the expression and the freedom of free speech. So here's my challenge to my fellow conservatives. Start listening. You don't have to like Kendrick Lamar. You don't have to agree with hip hop culture, but at least try to understand it. And the reason I'm saying that is because it is the largest subculture in America. It has the most social influence when it comes to music. You may not understand it, you may not like it, but your kids are listening to it. Right? That's what's happening. Don't be... we have too much information now. We have too much ability now to know things where you don't want to be like your parents or your grandparents were or whatever with Elvis, right? Everyone freaked out because he shook his hips and it's all the devil's music and the rock and roll is evil and all this other stuff, and they don't want to understand it. They just dismiss it. Don't be those people. And for those of you who are tired of the division, who actually want to see this country heal, let's keep this conversation going. Drop a comment below and tell me, what did you think of Kendrick's performance? Also, side note, if you know a good literary agent, DM me on X. I'm at Lux and Veritas. I'm looking to publish my book, and I need some help getting out there. So Like always, don't forget to subscribe for more real, unfiltered commentary. Follow me on X again at Lux and Veritas, and Instagram at the Kyle M Show. We're just getting started. God bless you, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.